passing yards. What do you think?
Yards allowed to opposing quarterbacks. Yes, there's the issue with A.J. Brown, but get those moon balls up in the air against a really shaky Giants defense. 205, not a tough number to hit.
How about the rookie on the other side? Combined yards, so passing and rushing for Jackson Dart, 240.5.
This is more as well. I think the game script here for the Giants as 7.5-point dogs is them trailing and playing from behind. What does that mean? Throwing the ball often. What does that mean? Racking up numbers against a Philadelphia pass defense that has struggled. On top of that, Dart's averaging about 42 rushing yards per start. Eagles have really struggled against opposing quarterbacks who have been using their legs this season.
Eagles have also really struggled running the football. Saquon Barkley doesn't have a 100-yard day yet. His total is 80.5 yards. Where do we go?
Less. The books have not adjusted to the Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley in the year 2025. They're still giving you 2024 prices, which gives us value on these unders. He's hit this one time this season. He's averaging 52 yards per game. We're not putting it all on him. The offensive line isn't what they were last year. But for a guy averaging 52 yards per game to have a prop sitting in the 80s, that's an underbet for us.
Remarkable. But anyway, that's our parlay. If you like Joe's picks, we're going to put them together for you. Over on Jalen Hurts, over on Jackson Dart, under on Saquon's rushing yards. It's a parlay at ESPN Sportsbook. Look for the more or less featured parlay on the homepage and in the parlay lounge. Now, one of the storylines in this game is A.J. Brown. And, Peter, look, some things just kind of don't pass the smell test, right? He has the big explosive game last week. He catches the huge touchdown at the very end, finishes the game. Then all of a sudden, Wednesday and Thursday, he's not practicing with a hamstring. What's going on?
With a curious Instagram post after a first big game. So there's a lot of people putting together like True Detective, like, okay, what's going on here? I'm told it's a real injury, and he's just resting it, and there's still a very good chance to tip them off. I don't get the feeling that A.J. Brown is necessarily going to be traded. I would say this, though. There will be teams who will be calling leading up to that deadline. This would be a huge asset for a lot of squads. Hamstring
ran through how much they've struggled running the football this year. They've gotten almost nothing out of the running game that was one of the best in the history of the sport last year. And we were talking this morning over breakfast. A.J. Brown's numbers last week look very good. And obviously, the 2 touchdowns speak for themselves. But they still weren't really featuring him in the offense the way we assume he wants.
Yeah, only 2 plays, in my opinion, where they actually feature A.J. Brown. It was the sluggo at the end of the game on 3rd and 9. He caught that one. And also the outside post that he caught for a touchdown. Went to the right side of the sidelines and then threw it to A.J. Brown as well. So only 2 plays or 2 of his catches, I would say.
Does this have to be the recipe? Like, Jalen Hurts played great. Yeah. And they actually have put more on his plate. Hembo gave me a stat earlier this week as far as percentage of the offense for a team. Jalen Hurts is right now #1 in the entire league. They're counting on him for a greater percentage of their offense than any other team is counting on their quarterback, which is the last thing you usually expect with him.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the recipe if this team is going to repeat? Is it going to be because they throw the ball and not run it?
It has to be. You're watching, and Joe just hit on it. They can't run the ball right now, and it's not just because Saquon Barkley has taken a step back or anything of that nature. They're not blocking as well, so there is no area, and there's no room to run in that area. So they're going to have to throw the ball more, and I think as we talk about A.J. Brown and the trade deadline and the field and all that, so Schrags, I think to your point, yes, Howie has always acquired talent. If his hamstring is really hurt, that's one thing. If he's not, there's a lot going on that you start to question and say, hey, if it's not going to work, you try to get something out of it.
It doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah. Right.
And that's fair to question. And Eagles people might look at us watching it right now and text me and say, what are you doing starting this? Guys, it doesn't pass the smell test, and that's fair to say.
Greeny, I struggled with this one all season long through 7 games, but after watching last week, I said, okay, I have to stop being boneheaded. Every single season is different. And what the Philadelphia Eagles did last year through the run game doesn't have any bearing on 2025. I do believe they have to play through the pass game like J-Mac just mentioned.
The problem is you watch them throwing those moon balls. That's not sustainable. It was moon ball after moon ball, and sometimes it works, and then everyone says, hey, Hurts looks fantastic. And then other times when the moon ball isn't there, he's not going over the middle. You need more depth and variety to the passing game.
I agree with that.
Any other picks that we should know about here? As we put the picks up on the screen.
You always have.
So this is a bit odd because we just trashed the passing game, but I'd lay the 7.5 with Philadelphia here in a quick roundabout. Go back to 2000. This is an interesting spot. These 2 are meeting for the 2nd time in 3 weeks. When you see that happen, the team that lost the first game covers the spread over 60% of the time the next time out because they make the adjustments where the winning team just assumes they can come out and do the exact same thing. Philly gets them here.
Everyone here is on the Eagles, which means the Giants are a mortal lock. Next game involves another team from that division, the suddenly surging Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott hoping to finally get a win against the Broncos on Sunday. That's one of 2 teams he hasn't beaten in his 10-year career, and he is riding high. He's got a 4-game streak of at least 3 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And we were talking about this one this morning, Harry. You were saying there's one particular key for the Cowboys if they're going to get this win in Denver.
You must have a fast start. What does that allow you to do? Remain balanced on offense. Why is that important in this matchup? Who is the team that sacks the quarterback the most in the National Football League? The Denver Broncos. The last thing that you want to do is be one-dimensional versus that defense and that pass rush. So continue to be balanced, have that fast start, and I think the Dallas Cowboys will be okay.
I listen to Harry, and yes, that's all the right stuff, but you're a former wide receiver. This is going to be one of the best matchups when you talk about CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. On the other side, Pat Surtain, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, and Riley Moss on the other side. I want to see receivers and DBs. I want to see a fight. I want to see these guys jawing at each other after the play, much like when I used to lock Harry down in practice when we were
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
I slapped him a few times. We made up.
It is an extraordinary matchup, and if Randy Moss says the Cowboys wideouts could be the best duo in the entire NFL, it makes you sit up and pay attention.
Yeah.
Obviously, those guys are ridiculously good, and the quarterback is playing at a ridiculously high level. And then there's the quarterback on the other side, Peter, that you have your eye on.
I'm fascinated by Bo Nix here because for the first 3 quarters of the first 55 minutes of that game against the Giants, Bo Nix did not look like he belonged on the same field as Jackson Dart. And then he comes alive and makes some big plays. Sean Payton, a very toxic week, obviously, with the Russell Wilson tweet. I think that was an unintended storyline they weren't expecting for. He says that he was not throwing shade on.
Get him, Russ.
I'll tell you, though, Bo Nix, this is a guy who made the big plays when they wanted him to, but you'd like to see him make the leap. This is a true test. Bo Nix versus Dak Prescott. As much as we want to talk about the wide receivers in the corners, Bo Nix, are you that guy? Let's see you go toe-for-toe with Dak because Dak is going to bring it. We know that.
I'm with you because the Broncos are a team people are talking about. Are they going to make a run to Kansas City? You're right. They were ridiculously fortunate, to say the least, to win the game last week. And then there were the Cowboys. They've been unbelievably good at home. They've been much less explosive on the road. They've lost some games that leave you scratching your head. Here are the splits. They're ridiculous. They lead the league in yards per game and points per game when they play at home. You see the enormous drop-offs on the road. My question is, and I get that it's an offensive lead, but is that offense good enough to carry this team, J-Mag? If the Eagles open the door a crack, the Commanders look like they're taking a step back. The Giants they're better, but they're not taking. If the door is going to open, it could be for the Cowboys. Are they good enough to step through it?
I believe so. The way Dak Prescott is playing right now, it's hard to believe that they can't do it. Now, yes, you just showed that. Have they played better on the road? Absolutely. But now having CeeDee Lamb back healthy, having him and George Pickens on the outside, and then Javonte Williams, he's been the guy in free agency they picked up that has been an absolute stud. And you mentioned the offense carrying him. To me, watching him last week against the Commanders was a step in the right direction because the defense played a lot better.
Put the picks up on the screen as Joe, we hear from you again. Cowboys, Denver this weekend. Fascinating game.
I have to make smart financial decisions. I did not make defensive back money or third-string wide receiver money. I have to. You know, you saw how I slipped down there.
Now third string.
Joe.
Okay.
Peter, we don't need He does not feel bad. He was owed that from yesterday. That said, how are you going to take hard-earned Hall of Fame radio host money and put it on a defense that can't stop anybody on the road? Defense at home